Welcome developers to C programming, and today we're going to be covering for loops. So what is a loop and why loop? Why should you learn loop? Loops are very important when it comes to repetition. If you want to repeat something in your code, let's say you want to send 1,000 emails to 1,000 employees, then there is a necessity for looping, there's a necessity for repetition, so you'll be doing one thing over and over again. So that's what loops comes in to solve. So today we're going to learn for loops through writing programs. Dennis Rich said the best way to learn a new programming language is by writing programs in it. So we are going to learn the for loop by writing programs. Let's look at the flowchart of a for loop. So a for loop, this is what happens. You have to start, then you do some initialization. After you initialize your initialization variable, then you have to put in the condition. This is like the if else statement that you, so if condition is true, then the body of the loop will be executed. This is by meaning the body of the loop, we are referring to the code block of that loop. Don't worry, I'm going to show you the code, and then we do the update or the modification. Otherwise, what if the condition is now false? So whenever the condition becomes false, then the loop is what is stopped or is terminated. So let's jump right into VS Code and start writing code. So this is our first program. Write a C program to print all odd numbers from 1 to n using for loop. How to print odd numbers from 1 to n using for loop in C programming. So before you write any program, you need to do some logic to come up with your input and your output. So let's jump right into VS Code and code that program. So I'll create a file in this for, then I'll call it let me say program1.cs.c. Not thinking about CSS, sorry. So first things first, we have to import our header files. So let's import our header files. Usually we used include standard input output.h, this one. Then we write our int, which is our main function. What's happening, yes. So whenever the C program is running, it always start with the compiler always start with the main function when the compiler is compiling this code. So let's declare some variables. So before I do that, let me show you the structure of a for loop or the format of a for loop. So this is what you do for let me just declare some variables. Let me say int I like this. So let me say int I. So I've declared a variable called I of data type integer. Then I come here, let's initialize. So this is how you initialize. Let's say I equals to 0. So this is the initialization. This is the first part of your for loop. Though these are conditions are what? These steps are optional. You can leave some of them. So the second part is the conditional part. So let me say I is less than or equals to 10, like this. Then let me increment or decrement. So I will say I plus plus. So this is the format of a loop. So this is the body of the for loop. What do you want to do? So let's just say printf. Let me just say printf %d, then I like this. Let me print on a new line. So printf to print on a new line. Then I say /n like this. So this is going to print on a new line. Okay, after that, what's happening here? Int I what's happening. Yeah, I think you are getting what is happening. So let's check this inside the block like this. So everything is going to be solved. Now let's run this program. So here the code from 0, we printed from 0 to okay, let me print a new line here so that you get what we are trying to do. So this from 0 to 10. So this is what this loop is doing. So what is happening? We're saying we've initialized our variable I to 0 here, and the first iteration, this is what happened. The first iteration, it is going to come and check the loop. The condition is I less than or equals to 10. If it's true, then it enters into this body of the loop. Then it prints I, where we have this 0. Then the next step, it is going to check, is I less than or equals to 10? No, so it's still true. Then it prints 2. Next iteration, it checks again, is I less than or equals to 10? No, then it prints 4. So it continues doing the same thing continuously. So these are the basic function of a for loop. So you need to master loops, they are very important. So now let's move to our next program that we want to write. Let's go to this question. So write a C program to print all odd numbers from 1 to n. So we are going to prompt the user to enter this n using a for loop. How to print odd numbers from 1 to n using a for loop in C programming. So this is what we are going to do right now. This is the second program we are about to write. So stay tuned in. I hope you are super pumped to do some programming. So second, let's just say second dot C. Right. Untitled, where is this untitled coming from? So first things first, let's import our header files. Yes, includes we are still doing some basics programs, so we are not yet doing complex things. That's why I'm not importing other header files. So let's write our main function. Let's say int, because we want to, the question is saying write a C program to print all odd numbers from 1 to n. So we want to allow the user to enter that n. So with that out of the way, let's declare number. So let me just say number which the user is going to enter. Let me say limit, int limit, then say int I, like this. So I think 2 variables are enough for now. Let's check if it is going to work. So let's initialize our I is equals to, let's give it 0. Then let's write our condition. I is less than or equals to limit. Then let's increment I plus plus. Oh, I've made a mistake. It should be I plus plus. Then the body of the loop. So before we go further, I want us to prompt the user to enter these to enter the limit. Print f, enter the limit like this. So we want to allow the user to enter the limit. Let's just give it a tab. We want it to go on the same line. Then scan f. We want to scan. So by scanning f, first thing we have to include our specifiers. So it's %d. It's an integer. So it's %d. That's our specifier. Then the address of the variable and limit. So we terminate. After that, let's go back inside our for loop. Then we want to print f. Remember here we want to print all the odd numbers. So before we do all these things, we want to write an if statement. If, like this. So we say if let's say if I modulus 2, right, is not equals to 0. So we write the body of the if statement. We want to print f. We want to print what we don't want to print. Actually, we want to say, so we are writing the sum of all. So let's say int sum again. Int sum is equals to 0, like this. We have declared the variable sum of data type int and initialized it with 0. So sum plus equals to I. So this just this is the same as saying sum is equals to sum plus I, like this. So this is the same as saying sum is equals to sum plus I, like this. So this is what we are doing. So outside this if statement, we want to print. Where exactly are we going to print? After checking everything and we are still in the loop, we want to say print f. We want now to print percent. We want to print the sum outside the for loop also. Let's come outside the loop and say print f the sum of all odd numbers to n. Then we say the sum, we just say new line. Then we include the reference, which is the variable sum. Then we terminate that line. Then we run. Let's run our program and see if everything is okay. I hope you have been following. I think something is wrong somewhere. Let me check where we have made a mistake. Yeah, everything is fine now. Okay, we made a mistake. Let's debug that one. Print, we said print instead of print f. So everything is super fine right now. Enter limit the sum of odd numbers to n. Then it's not writing the sum. Why are we not having is to n? Is to n, let's say is percent. Let's specify, always good, is percent d. Let's run. So the sum of odd numbers to n is 25. So everything is now working. Let's go to the next program without wasting much of our time. Write a C program to find the sum of all natural numbers between 1 to n using for loop. Write a C program to find the sum of all natural numbers between 1 to n. So this one is going to be very easy. Let's do that one. Remember, the best way to learn a new programming language is by writing programs. That's why we're trying to write as many programs as you can so that you understand for loops. So let's say third. So this is our third program, third.c, like this. First thing is first, let's import our header files. Hash include standard input output dot h, like this. Then we write our int main, our main function. We want to write a program that print the sum of all natural numbers from 1 to n. So let's int our I. Then let's declare also sum is equals to 0. So let's declare that variable. Int sum is equals to 0. like this. So we have declared the data type called sum of data type int is a variable called sum of data type integer. After that, we want to write our for loop now, and we inside here we are going to initialize our I. So we are going to say I is equals to 0, then I is less than limit. We are going to declare that variable, don't worry. Then we say I plus plus. So let's say int limit. We are going to allow the user to enter this limit, then printf, enter limit like this. Then we just still on the same tape space. Then we scan that limit. Then write our specifier is a integer. Then we include the address of the variable, which is end limit, like that. So we come inside the board of our for loop. Now we are writing some code. So this is what we are going to do. Sum equals to I. Then we come outside that for loop, we printf the sum is %d, then like this. Then we also include the variable sum, we print it out. So let's see what we are getting. So enter limit, let's just say 5. So the sum will be 10. Is it true? Do we get 10? Let's check if this is really working. 10. If we enter 5, let's say 10. So I is equals to, so let's check I is less than or equals to limit. So let me say it's less than or equals to limit, and then run. Then 10, we get 55. The sum is 55. So everything is perfect. Let's go to our next program. Write a C program to input number from user and find sum of all even numbers between 1 to n. So we have done a program that is similar to this one. So this question will be your homework. Now let's look at this amazing question. Write a C program to print square star pattern series of n rows. C program to print rectangle star pattern in C of n rows and m columns. So this is a n by n matrix to print square of row stuff of n in C programming. Okay, it's okay. So this should be your output. We are just doing some logic. So enter number of rows. So if the user enters 5 rows, then we are going to allow the user to enter number of rows, then enter the symbol star. So this is what the user should get. So we need to write a similar program in C programming language. So let's see how we can do that. Control bar. Then we are going to say rec star.c. First thing is first, let's import our header file. Include standard input output.h. So we write our int main, our main function. So whenever the compiler is compiling this code, it always starts with the main function. So let's declare for this question. So this is what we are going to do. We have the rows and then we have the columns, right? So we need to say int rows, then let's say int j, then int I, like this. I hope you are following. So after that, let's say we want to prompt the user to enter the rows. Printf enter the rows, like this. Then we make some tail space like this. Then let's scan the rows. So we specify our variable type, then the address of the variable is rows, like this. So we are going to have what we call nested for loops, a for loop inside another for loop. So the first is the inner, we have the outer for loop, which will be responsible for printing the rows, and then we have the inner loop, which will be responsible for printing the stars. So I hope you are getting what we are trying to do right here. So let's do it practically. So let's initialize our I. Let's say I is equals to 0. I is equals to 0. Then the condition I is equals to 0. Then let's have our condition I is less than or equals to rows. Then I plus plus. So this one, just made a mistake here of writing a wrong symbol. Square bracket instead of these curly braces. So this is what we are going to do. We are going to have another for loop inside that one, and then we initialize our j. Our j equals to, we can make it equals to 0 also, and then j is less than or equals to rows, then j plus plus. So what do we want to do here? We want to print the stars. So we want to say print f. We want to print something like this. We want to print a star. The star is the star we want, right? So after that, outside this loop, we want to, outside that for loop, we want to print f a new line. We want to print a new line like this. I'll explain everything after we've checked if the program we are writing is working. So let's return a 0. It has been long without doing this. And the number of rows 5. So this is what we're getting. We're getting it. The program is coming as it was on our question. As you can see, everything is super working. So I hope you are following. So right now I'm going to leave you a homework to do. So before I give you the question for the homework, this is what is happening. We have declared 3 variables. Int rows, this is a variable called row of data type int. Then we have j for our inner loop, and we have I for our outer loop. So here we allow the user to enter the number of rows. After that, so this first for loop is responsible for printing out the rows, and then the next one is responsible for printing out the stars. So as simple as it is, and then this printf is just printing the next line. So I hope you have been following. So this will be your homework. Try it. Remember, the best way to learn a new programming language is by writing programs in it. So you need to write this question. Write a C program to print equilateral, triangle, pyramid, star pattern series of n rows using for loop. So this is your homework. So your program should produce something like this. Until next time, peace.